Hey everyone, welcome to Makin Scents. If you've been here before, thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate seeing you here. And if this is your first time checking out my channel, welcome aboard. Today we're going to talk about a fragrance from the house of Boadicea The Victorious. The fragrance is Heroine. Stay tuned. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about a fragrance from the house of Boadicea The Victorious. And we're going to be looking at this guy right here, or girl, or whatever you want to call it. It's called Heroine. Try to get that in focus for you. According to Fragrantica, the main accords are powdery, floral, citrus, vanilla, woody, and musky. The caps look absolutely amazing. You saw the bottle, but look at that detail. It's just one of the more beautiful bottles and or styles of bottles. The face of it's the same type of thing like I just showed you. The back of it has the title of the fragrance along with the logo. See if I can get that in focus for you. It's not the clearest one, but that works. The bottom of the bottle's pretty much blank. It's got that there for you. And as far as the way the cap goes and things like that, comes off pretty well. It's pretty snug. It actually fits in there with this little black ring around it. Trying to see a little bit, but pretty simple. It is snug, and you'll see on this, when I get up close, I actually had to glue on the collar around this because I think I had Imperial before as well. And when I would pull the cap off, it was a little bit too snug, and what would happen is that ring around the actual sprayer would pop off and the cap would get stuck. And I'll be honest with you, that might be the reason I actually got rid of it. So the first time that happened on this fragrance, I actually took the collar out, put some sort of a super glue around it, and glued it into place. So because of my mishap, we'll call it, there's a little tiny bit of glue right below the sprayer there. But for me, that's definitely not a deal breaker or a game changer on this one. But I'm pretty sure I sold Imperial for the simple fact that it bothered me that that came off like that. Especially on such an expensive fragrance. I want to say this was around $250. This is the 100 ml. I got this from Alan over at Beverly Hills Perfumery. He had one of the best prices around by far and away, and a lot of times he does. There is some stuff you can, of course, find different places that have good prices, but if you get a chance, this isn't sponsored or whatever people say about that kind of stuff. This isn't sponsored by him. It's sponsored by me and my bank account when I bought the frag. So if you do want to check him out, though, he's a super nice guy, fast shipping, all that kind of stuff. He can get these types of fragrances, and there's a lot of other great people online as well. But Alan has done me right. The few things I've ordered from him, I've gotten at least 5 or 6, maybe even more fragrances from him, and every time it's always a really good experience. So I'll throw a link down below for his site. There's no code, nothing to link me to it. It's just the site that I use when I contact him to order my own fragrances. So with this one right here, now, honestly, out of all the fragrances I've smelt from this house, this is my favorite so far, which is funny because I've had a few different samples. A friend of mine on Fragcom through the Facebook groups and that, Steven Anderson, had sent me 5 different samples before of 5 different fragrances from the house. And it was kind of funny because he thought this would be my least favorite of them all, which makes sense because it does have a rose in there somewhere. We'll get there in a second. But once I had a chance to try this, none of the other ones stood out to me. This is, I believe, more based to be a feminine fragrance, but for me, this one just works. I like the smell of it. I like the way it fits onto my skin, you know, the way it works with my DNA. And it's one of those that it's still pretty much full because I have no intention on like ever decanting this other than for personal use or ever getting rid of the bottle. It's definitely one that's going on the wall behind me somewhere once I find a spot to put it. And, you know, ultimately would be part of my collection for a long time, if not forever. So let's dive into the fragrance itself. Let's spray it on my hand. You see the sprayers are very good. Let that dry for a moment. And the bottles are nice and hardy and heavy when you have it in your hand as well, which is a nice feature for me. So the opening with this fragrance, I definitely get that powdery aspect. Not even sure what does it. Down here I have a note. Top notes are bergamot, orange, and violet. It could be the violet, not sure. Middle notes are jasmine and rose, and the base notes are orris root, vetiver, vanilla, and musk. I took that information from Fragrantica earlier today. So when this opens for me, now I have a dry down on my right hand, so it's kind of teased me a little bit because I can still smell the right side a little bit, and my left hand has that fresh spray. But that opening for me really does kick in some sort of a powdery mix. I'm not the biggest fan of rose when I can smell it in most cases, unless it's mixed very well or some sort of an undertone. So this could have some of that coming through as well. But for me, it's just such a winner. It's kind of hard for me to describe. Now, what I mean by that is that powdery opening with some sort of a citrus backing. I believe it's orange blossom or one of those types of things, maybe just orange. That's what I smell first off. But that powderiness has something to do with the floral note that's coming through. And it definitely could be, jasmine violet, one of those things, whatever's in there, with some of the rose coming through in the bottom. It's again, hard for me to pinpoint because the floral notes are not something that stick out too much to me. The different notes that stick out to me more often or push through are like vetiver. And I believe this has it in the actual base, but it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. Vetiver, patchouli, I talk about those a good amount because I'm a fan of them in most cases, but they can also be a little bit too harsh and, be a turn down for different people. This one here, it's just a really beautiful blend. It's like having the perfectly made coffee if you drink coffee. It's like having the just right temperature pot pie or some sort of a food component that you were going to eat. For some reason, that just makes it better. And that's what this fragrance is. It's the perfect blend of all of these different elements together. Now, I will tell you, from the start of the spray, the first spray, all the way through to the dry down, I enjoy this entire fragrance. So for me to say that, I am a fan of a lot of fragrances, so that does happen. But this one here stands out for me. This is more of a fragrance that I choose to wear sparingly. It's one of those, I do wear it around the house once in a great while. I'll put a spray on just because I enjoy it. It's not something I wear to work. Personally, I could definitely wear it to work. I would say it's probably mass appealing enough. It's not anything that's too outlandish, especially for a niche fragrance. But it's just, it's clean, but it's a little bit sweet, as well as that fresh citrus mix in there a little bit. And then you get to like a woodsy, musky dry down that's not, man, it sucks away a bit of the powder. So whatever that floral thing is, whatever the thing given that flower or floral attribute in the beginning, starts to fade away in that dry down where it just smells delicious. It's the only way I can put it. I can smell vanilla. I think vanilla was one of the things. That's one of the things that's coming through a little bit. And that might be more potent on the fresh spray too. But now that that powdery mix is fading away a little bit more, I definitely can smell some of the vanilla when I smell my right hand for that dry down. As far as performance on this fragrance, it's one of the niche fragrances that earns its money. So the easiest way to describe this for me is I sprayed it on my hand when I first got the bottle, when I wanted to give it a good wearing, a good chance to see what I thought about it. And I got it on the edge of my jacket, it was my jacket. I left my jacket in my kitchen at my house. And I want to say I sprayed around 8 p.m., we'll say the night that I sprayed the fragrance. And the next morning, it was probably 7 or 8 in the morning. It was a weekend. I remember that. I ended up getting up, and when I grabbed my jacket to go bring it to the wash because it was a work jacket, I could smell the fragrance almost like I sprayed it like 3 hours ago for what I would consider a normal reaction to a fragrance. So this easily lasted 12 hours where on my clothing, at least, I could still smell the fragrance. My hand, I couldn't smell anymore. I did shower, take it off, wash my hands, so on and so forth. But for me, that was pretty amazing. Sometimes I've had other fragrances do that. And there are definitely fragrances that can last, especially on clothing and things like that. But with this one here, for me, I get amazing performance out of it. Now, with my DNA, to my nose anyways, and maybe someone else thinks completely differently, this is just a big winner. It's attractive enough to the people around you, whether male, female, whoever it might be, that it shouldn't be unappealing, but it should get through to people, if that makes sense. So if you haven't tried this fragrance yet, Boadicea The Victorious Heroine, I definitely say give it a shot. I don't know if you want to buy a whole bottle. I would say try it first. Try it before you buy it. I'm a big fan for that. Get a decant if you can get one. Try to get a sample from somewhere. I'm not sure if Beverly Hills Perfumery has samples or not, or if other people are decanting this online. I know there's a group inside of Fragcom on Facebook where you can look up Boadicea The Victorious fans, and it might be family or something like that. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I wish I did. But I'm in that group. Now, We Smell Victorious, I think it's called. So check them out too. Great people. Always have some good deals in there too. Good communication. People swapping, trading, things like that. So this guy right here, Boadicea The Victorious Heroine, is a big time win for me. Along with the time frame, the lasting power, the projection's not out of control. Now, when I say not out of control, I would say it projects for a good amount of time. Nothing crazy, but enough time to make you say, okay, this was worth my money, if that makes sense. So you got probably 3 to 6 hours where this projects off of you a bit. Now, I can't say it's more than that because I went to bed after that 6th hour. I took the shower and such, so I can't go past that. For that night where I had the longevity type deal, and every other time I've washed or changed my clothing after work or something like that. But projection-wise, I really got like 4 hours, maybe even upwards to 6, which makes no sense to me because every other fragrance in the world, when I test this type of stuff, is 2 to 4 hours max. Now, maybe I was like crazy on this and I thought that's how it worked and it ran that well for me. But every other time I've worn it since, I've gotten 3 to 6 hours of some sort of a projection where it was not a skin scent. It was well past that. So in the longevity, like I said, kept going and going and going. If I said you definitely get 8 hours out of this, that'd be an easy answer for longevity. And with projection, 3 to 6 hours is just insane, at least for me. You might have a different experience. Maybe you use moisturizer, you don't have as much dry skin. I'm not exactly sure how that works for everybody. But for me, this one's a definite winner. So that's a wrap for me and Boadicea The Victorious Heroine. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I definitely say if you get a chance, try this one out. It's definitely worth getting your nose on. You might like it, you might love it, you might hate it. Whatever works, as long as you get a chance to enjoy the fragrance itself, or at least attempt to try it to see if you do. That's one of the best parts about the fragrance game and the fragrance community is we all have different noses and we all have all different opinions of what we do or don't like. It's honestly one of my favorite parts about communicating with different people is that people say, oh, you got to try this. And a lot of times I like the fragrance because I really like fragrances. And other times I'm like, ooh, not for me. But that's okay. And that's part of being, together, being community, is just communicating and having a lot of fun together. And like I always do here is I really do try to keep it positive, not into negativity in any way. I just want to have fun with fragrances. And, luckily I get to share these videos with all of you guys and girls. So if you get a chance to toss your nose on this one, I definitely recommend that. Hopefully for a decanter or a sample, I think I said like 4 times so far. But if you've tried this fragrance, have you tried Heroine from Boadicea The Victorious? Let me know in the comments down below. What did you think about it? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Have you tried something else from the line or the house? Tell me in the comments down below. What do you think I should try from this house? What's your favorite? What's the best fragrance? What's your top 3? Anything down there. I love sharing the information. And I'm not going to lie, a solid recommendation on another fragrance to try out is always welcome because I just love fragrances. So again, if you haven't heard me, throw comments down below. Love it. If you liked the video today and you like the content I put up here, do me a favor, hit that like button down below. And if you want to come back and see more of this and you like reviews about fragrances and just talking about stuff like this, then please think about clicking the subscribe button. I'd love to see you here again. And remember, if you're making the world a better place, just one spray at a time, then to me, you're just making sense. Until next time.